and you are managing multiple remote operations. Remote team management is another challenge. I was in the northern sector. I was commanding a specialist unit of tank transporters. So these are vehicles which are used to transport the armored vehicles. Firstly, I would say that facility managers, they play a very, very pivotal role, in achieving the ESG goals for the organization. ESG is a big time. So I would say, quite a successful career in the army. Every dream of every army officer is to command a unit.
Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast where we explore the remarkable journeys of industry leaders who have reshaped their fields. Today, we have a very special guest whose career spans multiple worlds, from the high pressure environments of the Indian Army to the cutting edge landscape of real estate and facilities management. Mr. KR Sivaraman has spent over 2 decades navigating complex, high stakes challenges, leading transformative projects and operations at some of the world's most renowned organizations. But how did he go from military operations to spearheading corporate real estate strategies? What secrets to success does he hold from these vastly different worlds? In today's episode, we'll uncover the lessons, strategies, and leadership philosophies that have made Mr. Sivaraman a force to be reckoned with. Stay tuned as we dive deep into his extraordinary journey. It's a conversation full of insights, surprises, and a few twists you won't want to miss. Let's welcome Mr. KR Sivaraman to the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to today's interaction.
Sure, sir. Mr. Sivaraman, to start this conversation, your career has spanned diverse fields from military logistics to the strategic leadership of major real estate and facilities projects. Looking back on your journey, was there a particular moment, challenge, or turning point that shaped the leader you are today? Something that perhaps made you realize the true scope of your potential and set you on the path you're on now?
So, to begin with, I was quite studious, if you were to say. And the tipping point, probably in my career, I would say, was that in college, I was the college topper for 2 years consecutively. I used to contribute articles to college magazines, outside publications like caravans and newspapers at that point of time. And I really wanted to be a journalist. But I had also another passion of aviation. Aviation was very much at an infant stage back then, but I wanted to pursue it, and I started my career as a aviation engineering training, and I did certifications on a couple of aircrafts before I started giving my Aeronautical Society of India exams. But as the market was not very great, then I decided to sort of switch careers. I pursued my second passion of literature. So I did my master's in English literature, and then, of course, I picked up my first job in Government of India. I worked in Ministry of Food and Civil Supplies for about 2 years before I learned that it's not my calling. I hated the desk job, just wanted to get out and have some fun and adventure. That's when I decided to, try my luck in joining the armed forces. And then I joined the Indian Army. And then I also got, during my stint with the Indian Army, I was lucky enough to get command of a unit at a very young age and service in about 10 years of service. And that, I would say, sort of gave me the confidence and helped me build my career in the Army. If I were to mention any significant milestones, probably during my training in the Indian Army, I faced a setback. During my training, I had to repeat a term because I could not clear certain tests in a satisfactory manner, the physical tests, although I was good in academics. I had to repeat a term. So that built the resilience in me to make sure that I passed out with a better ranking than what I had. So I was in the top 20. So that was a good thing to happen. And I take it in a positive note. And also, as an army officer at a very young age, you are responsible for literally life and death of your people under your command. And that helps you mature very, very fast. and not to divulge any confidential information, but I have been in a lot of such tight spots, and all those incidents help me firstly understand the criticality of leadership, understand the man management aspects in real lifetime scenarios, and which help me in shaping up to a leader what I am today. And these multiple instances are common for all the army officers, of course, barring a few who are specialists and who would get a limited exposure. But I would say these have been some of the career changing or defining moments for me.
Oh, wow. Well, as we said earlier at the start of the conversation, definitely this conversation is going to be a lot more interesting than it started out to be. And it started with a bang, let me say that. It is fascinating how your journey uniquely combines military precision with corporate leadership. And and simply the route that you took to actually get to where you finally found, maybe your calling or your interest or something that really brought the best in you. That's really inspiring, sir. Hats off to you for that. Moving on, as a senior vice president at Northern Trust, you manage facilities across 5 sites totaling zero point 0.9 million square feet. What are the key aspects of managing such large scale operations, and how do you ensure smooth functioning across multiple locations?
Okay, thank you for that question. So, in terms of physical infrastructure, so we need to ensure BAU at all times, business as usual, and that is a very challenging task for the infrastructure. And in terms of how do we do it, so if I were to give you a short answer, we have a standard operating process for all critical functions. But having said that, only having a SOP does not resolve all the problems or make it a BAU. You need to have the team to actively understand and make sure that those checklists are implemented for you to keep it BAU at all times. Although the real estate or facility management requirements are common, they need to be customized for specific industries or segments. And because the challenges are different for different industries. For example, I work for a bank where regulatory compliance is of a very high order compared to other sectors. So a financial sector requirement might be entirely different from a manufacturing or a pharma sector or a technology sector. So every sector has got its own dynamics, and the real estate professionals have to customize the deliverables as per that. And also in terms of operating in different cities have different city dynamics, which you need to understand, starting right from statutory compliances to vendor management to geography of the city. So there are a lot of city dynamics which you need to manage. Additionally, if you are located in one part of the city or one city and you are managing multiple remote operations, remote team management is another challenge, particularly in a sector where you need to be physically present. And I believe in the philosophy of seeing is believing. So it is a bit tough for me to sort of manage remote teams unless I frequently visit and make sure that everything is going correct. But of course, once you train your teams, then it is business as usual. But till the time you have that confidence built in your team, it's a ongoing process. If you have different teams or different buildings in the same city, again, that is a bit of a challenge. We had a similar situation till the time we consolidated last year. So we were spread across 3 buildings in Bangalore, 3 different parts of the city, one in the southern part, one in the eastern, and one in northern part of the city. Again, managing different teams across the 3 buildings, apart from shuttling between them different days of week. Sometimes all 3 in one day was a big challenge. So these are some of the challenges which all the facility managers have to undergo. So how do we manage that? So in terms of strategies, there are some common strategies and then there are some which are customized. So in my case, I have a daily catch-up call with the teams, all the teams across all sites. So we have a daily exchange of notes, which we exchange in terms of what went well, what do we need to do well, or what do we need to sort of uh, change our course or recharter our course. So these are some of the things what we discussed. We also have regular vendor meetings. We have the monthly management reviews. We have the quarterly business reviews, wherein all the issues are discussed threadbare and major strategies and tactical plans are finalized. In terms of optimization of resources, now, of course, not now. As always in business, you need to look at cost optimization to drive profits. So, in terms of optimization of resources, there are a lot of areas where you have centralized resources, which are different from the site resources who have to be at site. So, the centralized resources sometimes help you run a country, a region, and some of the resources support the global teams as well. So these are some of the strategies what we adopt to ensure that we are cost effective. At the same time, we support the business as per their requirement. If I if I were to uh, update about the leadership style, I would say I am probably a leader who believes in effective delegation and monitoring. I train my team first and then I delegate and I only monitor for course corrections and I let them do it. What it does is that it gives the team the confidence to deliver and it also helps me build further pipeline of leaders, which I believe is the primary task of a leader to ensure that you build more leaders for tomorrow. So that is one philosophy on which I work. A lot of times, some of the team members slip up, but that's fine. That is where I need to step in and make sure that I mentor them and make them more effective leaders. And that is one philosophy which I believe in very, very strongly. If I were to talk about the challenges, I think it was common for everyone across when we were stuck by the COVID pandemic. So we had to suddenly change track. Overnight, once the lockdown was announced, we were tasked to support remote working. And to be very frank, we didn't have the IT infrastructure to support remote working. So there was a scramble for getting the computing devices, laptops, accessories, everything. Once we got that, then we had a big challenge of how do we ensure that we deliver these to partners. We call our employees partners who are spread across the country. So starting right from people sitting in Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh all the way to Lakshadweep, we had to deliver because they had just moved into their hometowns, and we had to make sure that we deliver. Of course, it was a big learning experience. None of the courier people were working because the air freight was literally non-existent. It was more to do with pandemic material which they were transporting. So we had to get hold of transshipment agents. We had to get hold of household shifting people, encourage them, cajole them, motivate them to support us, and that's how we managed to sort of bridge the gap. But once we had given the laptops and accessories, then we were sort of fine, and we just had to then do the replacement part of it. That was good. Then also we had to help partners set up home offices in terms of ergonomic furniture and other support, which of course we worked with the furniture vendors to deliver it directly at site and service them and all that. So I think these are some of the challenges which we faced. Then once the pandemic sort of got over or was nearly over, then we had to organize vaccination camps because the partners didn't want to go to the hospital because of fear of infection. So we had to create a safe space in the office, demonstrate first to the management, the leadership that we can do it. Then, get the partners in batches for them and their family members to come and get vaccinated before the management could initiate a conversation on getting partners back to work. So that was the next phase of getting people to return to office in terms of making sure that they are comfortable, in terms of all the sanitization of the office facility, in terms of providing them sanitizers, masks, and other things, and making sure that they're convinced that they are safe to it's a safe place for them to come and work. So that was the next challenge. Then of course, slowly, like everyone, we moved on to a hybrid methodology of work, wherein we need to make sure that whatever days they are mandated to come in, they have a robust tool to book their seats, come in, they find adequate parking, or we provide them transport and they come in and do their job and go out. And we work 24/5. So it's a round the clock operation. So to support everybody's requirement across the globe. So that is another thing in a hybrid mode, which is a bit of a challenge which we have to do. And of course, employee transportation, like in every industry, in our industry is also a key differentiator. So running an efficient transport entity pre-COVID and get the same replicated post-COVID was another big challenge which we had to undergo. Of course, we had our own lessons which we learned, but we were able to ensure that we support the business effectively. So sorry for the long answer, but these are some of the things which I wanted to call out.
No, that is absolutely fine. As a matter of fact, while you were going through all the entire process and the challenges, it is not just about COVID. COVID definitely was a defining moment for everybody who found himself or herself at the forefront of this unique challenge, which nobody had ever anticipated or faced or dealt with before. Having said that, that being one part, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot to balance and manage on a day-to-day basis. The way you put it across, it must take a real visionary approach to keep everything running smoothly, especially since you mentioned that it is multi-locational facilities. If I'm correct, so it's multi-locational facilities, not just in one city, but spread across the length and breadth of the country. Now that's definitely challenging, and I must say that well, they have the right man for the job. I can only say that.
Thank you.
So moving on, let's delve a little deeper into how these experiences shaped your leadership in both military and corporate settings. You worked in highly demanding environments, first in the Indian Army and then in the civilian corporate world. What were some of the most challenging situations you faced, and how did you overcome them with the leadership strategies you've developed? You have already taken us through the tip of the iceberg, if I may say so. If you could just dig a little bit deeper.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of, so I'll first cover the Indian Army because that was my first career. So there are a couple of instances which I would sort of put across to give you a broad idea on, what some of the things we could do. So I'm not, I'll probably only call out the year. I'm not calling out the name of the operation for confidential reasons. So in terms of, it was somewhere in 2001, 2002 when we had a major operation nationwide in reaction to a major national incident. So the whole of the Indian Army was mobilized, and one of the key tasks, I was in the northern sector. I was commanding a specialist unit of tank transporters. So these are vehicles which are used to transport the armored vehicles from the peace locations to the battle areas. They're not supposed to move on tracks because the life would go off. So they are transported in these specialist vehicles. So I was commanding a unit which had these specialist vehicles, and we were tasked to shift them. So overnight, we were given orders that you had to shift these to a particular location. But because that regular route was under enemy observation, under their artillery fire, we could not take that. So one of the time given was 2 days to explore an alternate route through very steep mountains, which was never done earlier. So my commander asked me to do a reconnaissance of that route with the help of other supporting arms like engineers and others, and give a report whether we can do an induction through that so that we bypass this challenge. So that was one of the key defining moments. It was a very risky venture, but again, once it is in national interest, you have to undergo this risk. So we set out with a small team of about 12 people with about 4 of those vehicles loaded with these armored tanks, each worth about 40 to 50 CRs. So we just took that in night time to avoid any sort of visibility issues. And we were able to negotiate, barring a few patches where we had to do some bit of engineering effort. So that was successfully executed. And we actually used that access to intake not only us, there were others also who did that. So that was one of the sort of big challenges in my career, which I undertook, and it taught me a lot of lessons in terms of how to think on your feet, how to have really out of the box solutions, how to make sure that you successfully complete a task which has been given to you. That was one. Second, numerous instances in terms of aid to civil authorities. So Army is called in for flood relief, Army is called in for elections. Elections, particularly in counter-insurgency areas, are very, very tricky. So you are given a mandate that you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. But then there are a lot of ambiguous areas where you would need to take a call. There would be nobody else to take that call for you. neither the district magistrate nor your boss is there at site. So there is a famous saying in the army, the man on the ground takes the call. So you have to take a call. And one of the primary qualities defined for an army officer is a tolerance to ambiguity. How tolerant are you to ambiguity, and how out of that ambiguity you can get the clarity and how you execute the task. So that was those instances are also taught me a lot. Then one particular instance, again, I was commanding a major logistics unit in northern part of Jammu and Kashmir, where a lot of areas get cut off during winters, and to cater for that, you have what we call advanced winter stocking. So you stock up all the requirements for that particular set of people in that post. It can range from maybe 10 people to maybe 100 people, and they sort of guard the borders there. They are cut off from the civilization. The only way they can get evacuated in case of an emergency is through helicopters if the weather permits, and that is very rare. So you do what we call advanced winter stocking. So I was responsible to stock all the foodstuffs, ammunition, everything. Everything went up as per plan, but suddenly I got a report that one of the items, critical items, Tetra Pak milk, which is used by Jawans, has gone bad, and it was supplied by Amul. So out of this 3 months winter stocking, last 1 month I got this report, and I had to replenish the old stock. And as per bureaucratic protocol, Amul wanted the ones which have gone bad back. So I had a dual task of getting the new stock up and getting the old stock down. So then I had to literally fight with the Amul managing director, say I can't get it down. Probably next year we will get it down when the road opens, but I want stocking done now. So every day was a war room. I was directly on call with the army headquarters, with the managing director of Amul, making sure that we get all the supplies. They promised only up to Jammu. Post that, I had to arrange my own transport, do a transshipment using larger vehicles, smaller vehicles, then mules, then man porters to make sure that we deliver. I would say I was about 90% successful. There was a lot of 100% stocks I could not deliver because the weather packed up and we could not deliver. But that was also another defining moment. I mean, going theoretically, it couldn't have been done. But practically, with a lot of cooperation from civil agencies and my chain of command, I could make sure that we were able to stock them up and make sure that they are comfortable when they are cut off. So these were some of the challenges which I faced in the army, which I would say defend. There were others, but these probably would be the more defining ones. Uh, Corporate stint. Let me start with the most important thing in the corporate is that you need to unlearn from your army days and relearn about corporate, because the essential focus is different. In the army, it's mission critical. It is mission to be accomplished at whatever it costs. Of course, cost is important, but end of the day, at whatever cost is not the focus. Whereas in business, it is always profit focused. So you have to really refocus, although the dynamics are the same, but your focus has to be different. So that is one key learning process. Second, in terms of one of the challenges we faced was in transportation, employee transportation. There was a major shift in the market when Uber came in 2013. So that upset the whole market. All the drivers, the vendors, everybody sort of migrated. There were no cabs, there were no drivers. It was a big challenge. How do you resolve that? So then we did some brainstorming. Then we went on to a different model of employee transportation in terms of getting own cabs or dedicated cabs so that we don't face that challenge. So that was one challenge for about 6 months, which took time to resolve. Then, of course, there are differences in perception or expectation from the stakeholders and what is actually available on ground in terms of employee transportation. That again, you need to work with the vendors, cultivate the vendors, help them grow to make sure that they are aligned to whatever is your requirement. So that all took a bit of time. Then, of course, in terms of automation of transport operations, it was very rudimentary. So we had to really get technology vendors on board, explain to them on what works. Today, you have a lot of vendors in the market who provide you end-to-end solution. But back then in 2012, 2013, it was a difficult task for you to get it. So I think to get those vendors on board, help you with automation, and then run everything automated. So today we have an end-to-end automated transport system, which we monitor 24/7. We have a very clear monitoring process. We have a transport command center, which looks at it's something like your Bangalore traffic control center. So we monitor all our cabs real time. We monitor in terms of speed, rash driving, whether the AC is on or not, how many partners are there in the cab, you name it, and we monitor on that. So that is, again, to put all that in place, that was a big challenge. Next came sustainability drives. When I wanted to induct EVs, I didn't find EVs in the market. So we had those Revas, if you remember, the smaller ones, which are not very safe to travel. So moment the E-Veritos came in, the sedans came in, we inducted them in 2017. Again, there was only a monopoly of one vendor. I don't want to name the vendor now, but we had to get others to convince them to deploy it for us. So we handheld them in terms of providing electric chargers, telling them how to operate, literally doing their management for them and giving them the confidence that they can operate. So that helped us. Other vendors also came on board, and then we were able to roll it out. So that was another challenge which was sort of faced, and we worked around it. And the last one, which I probably would want to call out, is we were spread across 3 locations in Bangalore. So last year we got a approval to consolidate. Again, when we did the consolidation project, we had a race against time because the old leases were getting expired, and we just had about 13 months for us to design the whole project and build out 6 floors. So that was a real bit of a challenge. So 3 months we took to just design, 3 to 4 months, and again procurement, and then actual built out we just had about 6 months to get it done. So that was a race against time. So we had a global team supporting us. So we were literally handing over the baton. During our daytime, we used to work. Evening, we had a coordination meeting, handed it over to them. So then they used to work with the vendor staff who were working on site. And then again, the same process kept repeating except Sundays. So Sundays, some bit of urgent works used to happen. That is how we managed to complete it. So that was again out of the box thinking and out of the box solution, which sort of helped us do that. So in a nutshell, I think these would be probably the big call outs I would say.
Wow, wow, wow. Talk about the Indian military taskmanship, and here it is all in totality. Absolutely remarkable, sir. And it is indeed a matter of pride. And I'm sure everybody who's watching this podcast at this moment definitely has, you've charged them up basically, because it definitely it means a lot to all of us. And on behalf of everybody watching this podcast, actually, I thank all the servicemen who really put it out for the best of the Indian citizens.
Thank you.
It is truly remarkable, sir, how you've navigated those challenges both in high stakes military operations and in managing complex corporate projects. One of your standout accomplishments was successfully implementing sustainability initiatives like energy savings and carbon footprint reduction. What role do you believe facility managers should play in helping organizations achieve their environmental goals? And what kind of challenges do they face in driving such initiatives? You mentioned about getting those EVs, getting EV vendors. So, on the same lines, if there is something?
Yeah. So firstly, I would say that facility managers, they play a very, very pivotal role, in achieving the ESG goals for the organization. ESG is a big time goal for any organization today. And in terms of cost, after HR, payroll, real estate is the major cost for any organization. So any organization which is looking at sustainability will look at the cost associated with that. So coming to some of the sustainability initiatives which I have sort of spearheaded or have helped put in place for my organization, one is that we have made all our sites zero landfill sites. So what do I mean by zero landfill? When I say zero landfill, any waste generated, whether it is a west waste or a e-waste or a dry waste, everything is recycled. There is nothing which goes out. Of course, all the water wastage, everything, now we have STPs which use the recycled water, so there is zero water discharge. But even the other waste which is generated is all recycled. So we work with 2 vendors. One of them is an NGO who take all our waste out and they recycle it and they give us recycled stationery in return. So that is something which we have implemented. Second is in terms of e-waste, of course, we have a vendor as per the given protocol, statutory compliance, who takes the e-waste. Again, they recycle it and give us recycled products. In terms of the project built out, what we have recently done, everything is recycled, including all the material which you have imported. We have recyclable certificates for that. Unlike some of the other recommendations, we have gone in for local stones everywhere. So we have tried to keep the carbon footprint as low as possible when we built out this major project. We are a plastic free office. So starting right from 2013 onwards, everything including our snack vending machines, they don't dispense any product with a plastic straw or anything. Everything is plastic free in the office. Then today, in terms of employee transportation, we run close to about 600 cabs, both in Bangalore and Pune. And 70% of these cabs run on clean fuel. So when I say clean fuel, what does it mean? It means a mixture of electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, hybrid of electric and petrol, and a hybrid of CNG and petrol. So this helps us save a lot of carbon footprint, and that is how we do this. And another sustainability initiative which we sort of drive is clean energy to our buildings. So currently we have between 75 to 90% of the energy coming in to our building as clean energy. This was a big uphill task which the previous builders we had to literally push them. And when we signed up the new leases, we made sure that we put it as a clause in the lease. In fact, the sites which we shortlisted all had clean energy assurances from the builder before we signed on the leases. In terms of certifications, we have been certified LEED in our previous buildings. Also, we had some bronze, some silver, some gold. The current building where we are in Bangalore, as per the project charter, it is LEED gold, but we are aiming for a LEED platinum because we have the points for that. So that is as far as the certification is concerned. Another small initiative which we have just started is use of recycled tissues. So we don't use the fresh papers, we use recycled tissue paper, which is again certified. So these are some of the initiatives which I have spearheaded or implemented. It has its own challenges. So one is the stakeholder, management or stakeholder approval and buy-in. That is one critical part. So what we do is that we discuss in our leadership meeting in terms of what are the potential projects we have in the pipeline, how are we planning to manage it, what are the potential challenges, whatever we face, and we also invite any sort of suggestions from the stakeholders if we can improve on it. So what that does is it gives us a in situ approval when we go in for it. So that is the way we are trying to manage that stakeholder challenges. In terms of risk, there have been some bit of challenges, like for example, for induction of CNG cabs. We tried that way back in 2015. Back then, the number of CNG cabs were very, very minimal in India. So was the supply. And there was a lot of hype around the non-stability of CNG as a fuel. So the risk refused to approve it. So last year, when we went to get this hybrid, there was again a big pushback from risk. But with a lot of research, industry research, and detailed paper which I had put in, calling out all the risk and how the mitigation measures are there, what are the current certifications, all that got resolved and we could get a buy. So this is some of the challenges what we faced. Of course, budget is one major constraint. Anything sustainable you want to do, it costs a bit more. So how do you balance it out? So the typical answer is that as long as you are within your budget, we are fine. You cut somewhere else and you do it. So we have to be a little creative on trying to do that balance and also try and scrounge for some additional budget to do it. My take on that is that once you have a pilot which is successful, the stakeholders are ready to give you that additional budget because they see the long-term goals. And also as a company, we publish our carbon savings on the street, or we make a commitment to the street to say that we will do this much of carbon reduction. We have a carbon zero neutral goal, so we are working towards that. All that helps us sort of drive the sustainability. Also, we need to balance the near-term goals with the long-term goals. So that is also another thing which we need to sort of budget it smartly. As a company, I would say we have a very structured approach in driving sustainability. So there is a leadership team. In that, there is one person who is responsible to drive sustainability across the organization. Then in workplace services, we have one team which has got a tie-up with another consultant who helps us measure all our carbon emissions, who helps us with suggestions, how do we reduce it. And there is a separate budget for sustainability projects. So that helps us drive these initiatives in a very structured manner. and we give inputs from various regions and countries which are evaluated in terms of priorities. Once the prioritization is done, the budget is allocated. So I would say it's been fortunate to have an organization where we have a structured approach and which supports sustainability in a big way, which has helped us achieve our sustainability goals.
You mentioned about this budget part. I'm just curious to know, uh, maybe 10 years back, was there some kind of a provision made for such initiatives, or you see that now it is more of an accepted fact that this provision needs to be there? Is there this difference?
Good question. So this structure, what I explained to you, has been there maybe 8-10 years back. It got put into place when we understood that we need to have a very structured approach. So this org structure helped us drive a lot of initiatives. So we have regular calls with the sustainability team to tell them on what we are thinking. Every year during the budgeting season, we put in our sustainability projects, what we are thinking in the pipeline. So that is discussed at a global level, and then they prioritize that we need to implement. There are some projects which we have implemented in India and which has gone global, likewise, which has been implemented elsewhere and we have adopted it. But again, the local nuances do play a major part in making sure how do we sort of customize it to make sure that it is successful.
Right. It is great to hear how sustainability is being integrated at such a strategic level. Certainly, a crucial area where leadership and forward thinking can make a real difference. And I'm glad that your company, or if I see nowadays, majority of the companies do not have this just as an expense item, a provision made for just an expenditure part, but a serious allocation is actually now being made to ESG as an initiative. That's really heartwarming to see, and it is across companies and industries, which is really great. So moving on, as someone who's built an impressive career in both the military and civilian sectors, I'm curious to know what's next for you. I mean, looking ahead, what areas of your career are you most excited to explore further, and how do you envision your role in evolving in the coming years? Are there any specific goals or impact you hope to make as you move into this next phase of your journey?
So I would say, quite a successful career in the army. Every dream of every army officer is to command a unit. I did that. I had to come out due to some personal exigencies, and then I started my career in the corporate. I have had a very great career so far in the corporate, a very satisfied person. I'm actively involved in the industry forums. I am a board member and a co-chair for the Coronet Global's India chapter. I'm also a faculty member for a lot of their certification courses. I have tried to keep myself involved in the industry forum in terms of panel discussions and fireside chats. And I'm a great believer in sharing knowledge. And I also believe in the philosophy of lifelong learning. So I keep learning every day. And I try to learn a new thing, however minor, every day. So at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, I just rewind and say, what have I learned today? Anything new which I have learned. If I have not, then it's a sort of a day wasted for me. So that is the kind of thing what I do. And in terms of what I'm looking forward to, so I am looking forward to making an impact in a regional or a global level as per whatever opportunities are available in my organization or elsewhere. In terms of specifically to the current roles, what I'm doing in terms of transport, I told you we have about 70% clean fuel vehicles. We are upping it to about 90% next year. And I'm also a big advocate of public transport. So we provide shuttles to our employees from the nearest metro station. Although it is about 700 meters, we make sure that we provide, because not a very great walking experience, although it will take 10 minutes, a lot of bottlenecks. So we make sure that we make it as seamless as possible. So one of the things I'm a big advocate is encourage people to use public transport, encourage carpooling, encourage more of sharing apps. So we are trying to do that, although it has got its own nuances, own challenges, but that is one thing I'm trying to drive. Reduce the pollution, reduce the traffic, indirectly contribute a bit to the carbon saving. I'm also a big advocate of 100% clean energy buildings. So we have to work with the stakeholders there to make sure that we are able to get it. But the way India is going in terms of green fuel, I don't think that is a challenge, because the government is actively pushing a lot of solar and wind farms. So we should have enough clean energy available in the country to support us on that. I'm also looking at well-certified buildings. So we did look at the well certification. It was a bit of challenge for us to execute in the short term, what I told you. So that is one of the things that we didn't go for it. But overall, in terms of employee health and safety, I think well-certified buildings are the way forward. In terms of long-term goals, I am a big advocate for sustainability. So I would like to work with like-minded forums and leaders to drive that. And also, I'm looking forward to giving it back to the fraternity and society in whatever small way I can do it. So these are some of my goals for the future.
Right, right. Before we move on, uh, I would just like a word from you on the corporate governance part. Having managed facilities and real estate for a major global financial institution, the Northern Trust, across multiple sites, can you share how this experience has shaped your understanding of corporate governance and its role in real estate operations?
Thank you. So Northern Trust is one of the oldest banks in the US and is a very, very conservative bank in its approach. I'm highlighting this fact to come to the point that is very big on corporate governance. So we are very strict on implementing corporate governance standards, also regulatory requirements. So we work across the globe. There are varied regulatory requirements across the globe for different business units, and some of them are implemented in India. For example, there are some governance which state that a particular team has to work within an enclosed space, restricted access, continuous monitoring by cameras. So these are some of the things which we need to enforce and also make sure that only the authorized partners are able to get in there. In terms of other access controls, in terms of system access and others, there are very, very strict governance on part of that. Of course, being part of the leadership team, I'm part of the second level leadership. I have visibility on all the corporate governance requirements, and I'm actively involved in all the discussions on how does it pan out from a real estate perspective. Even when we finalize sites or shortlist sites, or we are implementing anything new, or there is a challenge in terms of it impacting the business resiliency, how do we do it? So these are some of the things which I'm actively involved in. Real estate, of course, plays an important part in governance to make sure that we are compliant to the laws of the land. So that is very important across varied requirements, starting from a pollution control board to a fire clearance to a cafeteria requirement or whatever, you name it, food safety, everything is part of the governance. And also employee transportation plays a very pivotal role in making sure that we are fully governed by the local Shops and Establishment Act under which we operate. So that is also another big part in corporate governance. So how do we make sure that in terms of workplace services or real estate that we are compliant? So like I said, we have a SOP checklist to ensure that we are compliant in terms of employee health and safety. We have a very robust organization within our team to ensure that all the EHS norms are strictly followed. We have planning for risk management and mitigation, whether it relates to buildings, whether it relates to business operation, whether it relates to man and manpower. So this again is sort of looked at. We also have a compliance management, which ensures that we have zero issues. We have a centralized tool for monitoring. So majority of the corporate support services update their data in the tool, and we have a monthly governance meeting to make sure that we are compliant. We also have a self-audit, we have an internal audit, we have an external audit. The monthly meetings are attended by our external audit partner who comes and looks at our compliances and make sure that we are compliant. Also, they are responsible to give us the latest updates, changes in regulations, and all that is incorporated into our logbook or into our checkbook. So we make sure that we are compliant in all aspects. To answer your initial question, the stint in NT has really opened my eyes in terms of what corporate governance means at a country level and also at a global level. And why is it so important to ensure that we are compliant and we are totally mitigated from all types of risk?
Right, right. I'm glad that question actually came up in my mind, and I said I would like to know your views on this. It is clear that corporate governance is deeply intertwined with effective real estate management. Your approach to balancing these critical elements is truly insightful, especially in such a complex multi-site environment. Mr. Sivaraman, that brings us to the last question on this podcast. Being part of the Directors Institute must offer you a unique learning environment. What are some of the key insights or lessons you've gained through this experience so far?
Thank you. So, to be part of the Directors Institute program for independent directors, I would say has been one of the best decisions of my life so far. The syllabus has been very structured, and real life experiences shared have been really helpful, particularly the boardroom simulations and weekly update by the industry leaders. There is a lot of learning from our peers across various industries. So that gives us a very clear insight into what is happening across various industries. If I were to come to specific skill sets or insights, I would say it gives a clarity on and the criticality on the role of directors. The second, I would say, is refining one's own knowledge on corporate governance. It's a ever growing topic, and there is a lot to learn. So I think, like I said, from different industries, what are the nuances which you need to look at? So that is one of the things which I have refined. Then strategic financial planning, how is it important, and how are people thinking about it? What are the leaders thinking about it? In terms of business dynamics, what are the current business dynamics? What are the challenges? And what are the possible solutions being thought about or being advocated by leaders? In terms of future of business in India and the role of government agencies, particularly in the weekend talks, there has been a lot of debate or discussion around what is the impact of various policies. So that has been a very, very interesting discussion. And finally, I think the importance of government policies on economy. So what seems to be a policy today with minor or a very minimal impact, how can it turn out to be a major driver for economy in the years to come? So I think these are some of the key insights which I would say has been my takeaways from Directors Institute.
Great, great. That sounds incredibly valuable, Mr. Sivaraman. It is great to hear how these insights are assisting you in your quest to do more and move up towards your goals that you just mentioned to us. Mr. Sivaraman, it has been such a pleasure having you with us today. Your journey through both military service and the corporate world is incredibly inspiring, and your insights into leadership, sustainability, and the evolving role of facility management have been truly enlightening. Thank you for sharing your experiences and wisdom with us. I'm sure our listeners have gained a wealth of knowledge from this conversation, sir.
Thank you so much.
And to our audience, thank you for tuning into today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Stay connected for more insightful stories and perspectives from industry leaders like Mr. Sivaraman. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and take care. This is Rajesh Joshi signing off. Thank you.